I'm glad you guys are excited. Happy Mother's Day. I think it's awesome. It's Mother's Day, and I'm just curious just so we can know kind of the mothers and all that. How many mothers stay at home? How many homemakers do we have? Just raise your hand up. People stay at home, homemakers? Awesome. How many do we have that homeschool? You homeschool your kids? Awesome. My wife is raising her hand as high as she can. We homeschool our kids. All right, how many of you moms help bring home the bacon? You work wherever you work at? A lot of moms. You guys are awesome. You juggle so much. Everybody show some love to all these women. They're incredible. You guys are awesome. So excited. And it's been so exciting for me because I've been talking about this series, Charging Hell with a Water Pistol. And I've been asked, how in the world are you going to tie Mother's Day into charging hell with a water pistol? What kind of mom are you going to be talking about? And it's awesome because I don't know about you, but my mom has this fire in her eyes. And I've seen it a couple of times when it was directed towards me, when the wrath of God through mom was upon me and my brother, and somehow we survived. And there's times that I'm surprised that my mom survived. And she did survive. She's here today, and she's sitting here with my dad, and I have an amazing mom. But there are times I think that she wondered what she was thinking. There was a time whenever my mom came home, and her mom was already home, my dad came home, and he couldn't find my mom. And looking through the house, he was going through and was trying to find, he couldn't find mom. And that's because my mom had shut herself up in the closet with the lights off. I'm pretty sure she was in the fetal position, rocking back and forth. Dad began to look because he couldn't find us boys. And where we were at, me and my brother, we were in our bedrooms. We had barricaded ourselves in. We had pushed the chest or drawers all the way up against the door, and Mom couldn't get in. I think we were 3. And we had broke something of my mom's, and it was kind of precious to her. She didn't say a word. She just shut herself up in the closet. And she never said it, but I know it was times that she had to wonder, like, dear God, I love these boys, but please help, And we had these times. I know that you probably have seen that maybe from your mom or from your grandparents. I mean, I remember one time my granddad, he told me, he said, go get yourself a switch. And I was like, what is that? A switch? So I just went back with a tree branch, and he said, that's not a switch. So he got one of those really thin things, and I went, you are not whacking me with that at all. He did teach us a lesson. He didn't whack me with it, but we get told these crazy things, go get your own switch and all this, and you get whippings and all this. I'm telling you, man, nobody wants to mess with mama at all. And if you want to see the wrath of mama, you let somebody, come at her and challenge her kids. Man, it doesn't matter if it's on the ball field or if it's in the classroom. If somebody comes at their kids, the wrath of mama is coming down. Get out. Katie barred the door. Mama is coming down. It's on. And I saw that too. And sometimes it was, like I said, towards me and my brother. And other times it was towards others. And there's this one time I tell again on my mama, because my mama, she's so sweet and precious, and she'll just hug you and love you up and fix you gravy and biscuits. But there's times that it comes out. And I remember going to the dentist, and I had this cavity, and I had it filled. And then sometime later, the dentist came back and said, "Okay, there's something wrong with that. There's something wrong with that filling it too. So we're going to have to redo what we did." And so we went back to the dentist, and they redid that. And the mom got to check out, and they said, "Okay, your charge is going to be da 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 da." And Mom said, "I don't think so." I went to the car. I wanted no part of this. What was so happened? But Mom came to the car, all grinning. Yeah, they didn't charge us. We're all good. It's like, it ain't my mistake, it's your mistake. You messed up the tooth, not me. You ain't going to charge me. But we see this sometimes in our mamas. And I think that a lot of times what mamas struggle with and what women struggle with, and we all end up struggling with, is that there's certain things that we can't get past, or maybe we don't see ourselves past that. And so I love using props and ideas. So this is awesome. And this is ironing board. This is one of my favorite tools in the house. I love this tool because it's so amazing. Because you can lay something out here, and you get to use my second favorite tool, which is the iron, because you can take something that's all wrinkled up, okay, and you can just get all the wrinkles out of it. I think that there's some women out here today that would like to do this to their kids. I want to straighten you out. We're going to iron you up, baby. And an iron that has some useful tools. I've only found 2. One is obviously ironing clothes, and I like ironing. I don't know why I enjoy it, and it's a It's good. It's a useful tool. But there was one Sunday morning at a church that I used to pastor, and we were getting ready to go to church, and, we have girls. So we have 4 girls, and they have wads of hair. And so we're using the water bottle, to try to salvage their hair and put in a ponytail, some way to salvage it. And I broke the water bottle, like it fell into pieces. And I went, oh, Lord, what are we going to do? We ain't got time for baths. What are we going to do? I went, we got to iron. So here I am. I'm standing there like this, and I am squirting it with... And my girls are going, it ain't on, is it? Please don't burn me. And I'm like, no, it's not on. And we survived, When you're a parent, you got to improvise. And so this is what we did, and so we squirted it, great. But I think here's what we do, and I know there's a lot of people, they hate ironing. And if you hate ironing, what you do is, whenever you hear the buzzer go off on the dryer, or as soon as you hear it shut off, you run to get the clothes out and start hanging them up. That way they don't get wrinkled, so you don't have to do this. But there's something else that you have to do, and I know a lot of people really hate it. Laundry. We despise it. And your laundry room probably looks like ours. You take it out of the dryer, you maybe put it in there, and your laundry room looks like a tornado's hit it. And when you need to go find something, you go find you some clean drawers and stuff in the laundry room, you get out of the pile. We don't like this. Like, if we could automate this, we would all have a lot happier homes. But then a lot of times that's what we can't see ourselves past, is like this is all that I get done, is that I'm going to go home and work, or all I get to do is discipline the kids and iron or do laundry. Or, we have to cook and all of this. And again, I'm a little weird because I like to kind of clean. And we have the vacuum cleaner. So I don't know what you see yourself as, but I think a lot of times we see ourselves as this, and we can't move past that. And so I wonder, if we are really capable of doing so much more than what we think we are. Like, a lot of times when we look at ourselves and we can't get past these things, we have all these responsibilities, and we have in the back of our minds somewhere, we've got these hopes and dreams. We've got these hopes and dreams for our family. We've got these hopes and dreams for our kids. But it seems like that all that we get done is this. Cut, clean, iron, wash dishes. The next day it's going to be the same thing. And along those lines, you got to go to Walmart and whip your kids. And it's like, it's crazy. Like, can we really do something great? And just for a few minutes, I want to specifically talk to you women. A lot of you work, and you're incredible, and you balance so many different things. And you put up with us men in your life, and sometimes we're slobs and we smell funny. And you somehow manage to hold the house together, and you're incredible. You're incredible. But are we meant to do something more? Like, can we look past all this to see something great inside of us? And maybe you've got something back in your mind that's a hope and dream of yours that you've had and you've held on to so long, but it's like, I can't really do that, or I'm not qualified enough, or I may not be good enough, or we'll do it another year. I got to clean today, and we just can't get past that. I want to show you this short video of this lady, and I know some of you women love this. We like watching it at our house. Any HGTV fans? You like to watch HGTV? It's awesome. This is a story about Joanna Gaines. Check out this video.
I remember as a little girl, my mom was Korean and my father was Caucasian, and I never knew there was anything different about myself until I started going to school. And I'll never forget an experience I had with the school lunchroom. I remember standing there and seeing the sea of people. Felt like all eyes were on me. And I was thinking, who's going to be my friend? Who am I going to sit with? I started walking through that lunchroom, and then I remember darting straight out, and I found a bathroom, locked myself in a stall. But in those moments is when I really believe that that's where the lie was sown, that who I wasn't good enough. As we all do, I grew up and I grew out of the insecurities, had great friends, great childhood. And I remember in those times, I heard him specifically say, Joanna, I have a calling for you. You're gonna have a platform one day. And I remember thinking, what does that even mean? And I remember hearing God say, Joanna, there's going to come a time where I'm going to say for you to go, and I'm going to need you to step out and go. After graduating college, a couple years later, I end up meeting this handsome, rugged cowboy who was hilarious, Chip Gaines. And we got married, and he knew that I had this whole thing of businesses that I wanted to start, but he also knew I was never going to just take the risk and start them. I just dreamed about them. And he really encouraged me to step out and make one of those dreams happen. And we opened Magnolia Market together, and I loved it. But at that time I was also pregnant with my second child, and I really felt like God was saying, hey, I want you home. I want you raising these babies at home at this age. And I remember the last day, we're closing the shop down, and I'm crying because, again, I feel like it's the end of a dream. And I hear God say very clearly, he said, Joanna, if you trust me with your dreams, I'm going to take Magnolia further than you could have ever dreamed. So just trust me. And I remember hearing that and feeling completely peaceful about it. And I walked away. Well, a couple years ago, we get this call from a production company, and they ask us to film a quick video of our family and what we do as a business, and that turned into the show that we have now. Chip and I laugh. We look back and we just go, how did this all happen? And I remember last year in January, Chip and I took a trip to Arizona, and we were driving around and we found this really beautiful garden, and Chip said, I'm going to drop you off here. I'm going to give you about an hour, and I want you to kind of reflect on the year before and then just let God speak to you about what this next year is going to look like. And he dropped me off, and I'm sitting under this tree, and I felt like God said, Joe, it's time. And I was like, time for what? And he said, it's time to reopen your store. And I said, I don't think I can do that. And just cool and calm, no, it's time. May of last year, we reopened the shop on Bosque, the little shop on Bosque. And now I look back and I go, God, your promise that you spoke years ago, I'm now seeing. I trusted you with my dream, and you've taken it far beyond what I could have ever dreamed or imagined. I can look back now in the pattern of my life and really believe God has a purpose for me, but he also has a purpose for you. And on the other side of that is the enemy, where he knows where to hit. He knows to hit below the belt. He's going to have that fear be, if you fail, and what if you fail in front of all these people? What if you fail and don't find someone in that lunchroom? What if your business fails? Whether it's you're staying home with your children and you're raising beautiful babies, or you're the CEO of a multi-million-dollar company, let God speak into your life. Let his Father heart come and say, this is what I have for you. And I think that's the key, not believing the lies, fixing our eyes on Jesus and walking in that truth.
So that was Joanna Gaines, and she and her husband, Chip Gaines, they do Fixer Upper on HGTV. And so she had this dream, and it was her husband that pushed her on and encouraged her to go on. And during our lives, I wanted to ask you this question, like, are you capable of doing something absolutely unbelievable? And particularly today, I'm speaking to particularly the women. Like, are you capable of doing, like, I'm talking like something amazing that people can look back and go, wow, what just happened? What did that person do? Look at what they did. And that be like absolutely amazing. And just like Joanna Gaines here with her husband Chip, and now they're the star of this TV show, Fixer Upper. And they're one of the most unique couples I've ever seen on TV, because they're the first couple I've ever seen that don't fight, argue, and cuss each other out. You're talking about a good family TV show, it's great. When you have all these other stuff and they're just wanting this drama and all that, like, I don't need any more drama in my life, and so I don't want to watch anybody else's drama. But here you get to see this. Like, are we capable of doing something great like that? You men, are you able to do something great? Can you encourage your spouse to do something amazing? Because they may just be waiting on your encouragement. Because a lot of times, all we see is all the house chores that's got to get done. Well, I could do that, but man, with the mountain of laundry, and we got all these mouths to feed, and we got to cook and clean, and then when there's the mow the grass, and you've been working 6/12s, and I mean, what are we going to do? The house is a wreck. Today I want to show you this woman in the Bible and how she changed the fate of an entire nation. This is awesome. If you have your Bibles open up to it's in the Old Testament, the book of Esther, and this is one of my favorite stories. I love it. It's awesome, and I know Tony makes fun of me because I say that every week, but I love the Bible, and I just think it's absolutely awesome. This is in the book of Esther, and this is absolutely amazing. And where this story picks up at, right now, the king of the land, his name is Xerxes, and he is very upset. He's angry at the queen. And I know some of you men, there's been times that you've been angry at the queen of your house, and you're like, man, I just like to boot her out. But this is not a story about that at all, although that's kind of sort of what happens here. So I just want you to understand this. So right now he's in the process of looking for a queen. So check this out. This is Esther chapter 2. Esther chapter 2. And we're going to start here. This is with the first verse. And it says, "But after Xerxes' anger had subsided, he began thinking about Vashti." This was the queen, Queen Vashti, "and what she had done and the decree he had made. So his personal attendant suggested, 'Let us search the empire to find beautiful young virgins for the king.'" They're going to try to find the queen, a new queen. So verse 3, he said, "Let the king appoint agents in each province to bring these beautiful women into the royal harem of the fortress of Susa. Haggai, the king's eunuch in charge of the harem, will see that they are all given beauty treatments. After that, the young woman who most pleases the king will be made queen instead of Vashti." This advice was very appealing to the king, so he put the plan into effect. So here's the story. They've got all these different provinces, these little different places that make up, the country. And right now he is very displeased with the queen. Queen Vashti, she's out, she's disrupted. He's very upset with her. So now they're in the process of looking for a new queen. And so now they come up with this idea. Here's the plan. We're going to search out and find the perfect one. So we're going to gather up all these young virgins that can possibly be the queen. We're going to give them beauty treatments. And then we're going to go through a selection process to make sure that we get the perfect queen for you. The perfect queen. That's kind of what they're doing right now. And I know that we just gave gifts out, and one of those was, like a spa treatment. Maybe you'd like to have one of those. And that's the process that they're going through right now. And they're going to find this perfect queen. They're going to find the perfect one. So they go out and they find all these people. And I think this is awesome. So this is verse 8. They go out and they grab all these young virgins. Now here's where the story gets interesting. I like this. This is verse 8. It says, "As a result of the king's decree," so they're gathering up all these virgins together. It says, "Esther, along with many other young women, was brought to the king's harem at the fortress of Susa and placed in Haggai's care." Now listen to this. Haggai was very impressed with Esther, and he treated her kindly. He quickly ordered a special menu for her and provided her with beauty treatments. He also assigned her 7 maids specifically chosen from the king's palace, and he moved her and her maids into the best place in the harem. Now this is awesome, because here's this woman. Her name is Esther, and she stands out about everybody else. And now she's already getting special treatment. So much special treatment, she has her own menu. And I don't know really exactly how they're going to do this, but she can order her own special food just for her. And then they also gave her 7 maids. Now, how would you like for somebody to find so much favor with you that today at church you can take 7 maids home with you for you to keep? I mean, would that not be awesome? You're like, yes, the floors, please, curtains, laundry, dinner. Yeah, and we would like that. And this is how much special treatment that she is given. That much special treatment. And it's all given to this Esther, this one lady that stands up above all the rest. Stands above all the rest. And I hope, men, this is the way that you look at your spouse. That you went through the selection process and there was this one woman that she stood just above all the rest. She had that sparkle in her eye. You looked at her, you couldn't remember your name, and you're just like, man, I gotta have her. And through time, for some reason, we end up forgetting that. We forget the reason why we got married to begin with, and they're very special to us. May you treat the lady in your life like a queen. And here they're treating her like this, and she's not even there yet. Now she's got this special menu. She's got 7 maids, and I mean, she's got it made. All she has to do is get pampered and look pretty. That's it. How would you like to have that for a job? All you got to do is stand there and let me look at you. That was her job. It gets even better now. Just to let you understand how significant this was. This is verse 12. "So before each young woman was taken to the king's bed, she was given the prescribed," now listen to this, it was prescribed, it was doctor's orders, 12 months of beauty treatments. 6 months with oil of myrrh, followed by 6 months with special perfumes and ointments. And when it was time for her to go to the king's palace, she was given a choice of whatever clothing and jewelry she wanted to take from the harem. How would you like to have a year of beauty treatments? I mean, every day you're getting your nails done, massages, all the oils and the spa. I mean, the whole thing. Every day for a year. This was your job, was to look pretty and to feel pretty and smell good. And I mean, all this oil of myrrh. I mean, you're talking about you was going all out, and this is all you had to do. All you had to do. And I tell this to my wife. I was like, "Why don't you just stand there and let me look at you?" And she's like, "Psh." That's really what they had to do here. All she had to do was do this one thing. Look pretty. Get all these beauty treatments and just look pretty. Just look pretty. But God was setting this woman up to do something great. And I know there may be a time in your life, and maybe we like to do these things, and we're going to treat a day to ourselves. I know some of you ladies, you're going to go and you're going to do this very same thing for yourself. It may not be a whole year long of beauty treatments, but one day it's all about you. You're going to get your nails done, your hair cut, get the gray out, you're going to get it colored, you're going to get all out, make over the whole thing. And then you're going to go and pick out an outfit and nice jewelry. And that's what they did here, because she got to pick out whatever outfit she wanted and whatever jewelry she wanted. Very special. And I hope that today that you feel very special. Very special. And this lady, God was setting her up, though, for something absolutely amazing. Absolutely amazing. But there's a thing that we have to get past, and that is we have to get past all of this. She was raised up with one perspective, one point of life, and I don't think she was ever raised with the intent of, oh, someday you're going to be the queen. Now, don't get me wrong. We have a little 4-year-old. Her name is Kayla. We call her Kayla Bug. She is very funny, and sometimes she really thinks she's a princess. And she really thinks she's going to be a queen. And she walks around with a little wand and a hairpiece and a little tutu, and she's like, I'm the queen. And she believes it. But we look at our lives, and a lot of times all we fall into this rut of is just doing our regular jobs every day. Men, we look and we think that this is all we do every day. It's going to work and we're working, and this is the same thing every day and every day. And are we capable of something great? Like, can we really make a difference? Women, you are iron workers. You may not be using a welder and all that, but you are iron workers, and you're doing so much work and you're doing so many things. Like, are we capable of doing something great? I'm talking about great that would impact the lives of people. Well, it looks like right now that Esther is really not doing anything great. She's getting beauty treatments and she smells good. Now she gets to pick out an outfit and jewelry. Well, things take a turn for the worse. Something very important. This is verse 14. And it says that evening she was taken to the king's private room. And the next morning she was brought to the second harem where the king's wives lived, and there she would be under the care of Ashashagaz and the king's eunuch in charge of the concubines. Now listen, here's what's very important. She would never go to the king again unless he had especially enjoyed her and requested her by name. You couldn't go see the king. And they did this by a way of security. You just couldn't just walk up and say, I want to see the king. Even if you were the queen, you couldn't do this. You had to be summoned. You had to be requested. And this is probably a rule that we like to put in our house sometimes, like for your kids. Like you can't say mama unless I request you to do so. Like, you can't come into my presence. No sticking your fingers underneath the bathroom doors. Let me have my peace. Let me take a shower. Let me use the bathroom in peace. Let me summons you, and then you can speak. And you're like, nope, our kids do not care. They'll send you notes under the door. Mama, can I wear this? And it's shoved under the door. And you're like, please give me 1 minute. Well, here's the thing that's going on right now. The king, this was the decree made out, and you couldn't approach the king unless he had requested you. It's very important. If you had approached the king, it would mean death for you. And she pointed out his gold scepter for you and said it was okay for you to come in. It was death. Death. That's very important. So now what gets ready to happen is this is awesome. So this is verse 16. So now we're talking about Esther. So Esther was taken to King Xerxes at the royal palace in the early winter in the 7th year of his reign. And I love this. And the king loved Esther more than any other of the young women. He was so delighted with her that he set the royal crown on her head and he declared her queen instead of Vashti. I love this. Verse 18. So to celebrate the occasion, he gave a great banquet in Esther's honor and for all of his nobles and officials, declaring a public holiday for the provinces and giving of generous gifts to everyone. She got her own holiday. It was Queen Esther Day. Like we celebrate Christmas and we honor, Jesus and spread gifts. She had her own holiday where they celebrated her and everybody got gifts. Would that not be awesome for you? I think my wife would like it, and you'd like that, it's Queen Amanda Day, and we're just going to give gifts to everybody. Oh, it's Amanda Day. Oh, okay, here you go. Here's a gift. She had her own holiday. This is how awesome the king was by her. He was so impressed by her among everybody else. She stood out among everybody else. And man, I'm telling you, that special lady that you get to take home today, make sure she feels like she stands above anybody else. Don't treat her like anybody else. She stands above everybody else. She is your wife. Honor her. Cherish her. And your moms too. But specifically your wife. Love you, Mom. Esther, and if you flip over to chapter 3, this is where things turn. So right now, we built all this up. We built all this up talking about the queen and all the process and how special she was to get there. So now we have Queen Esther, and she is the queen. And it looks like everybody is all happy, but not everybody is happy. There's some people who are very upset, and they are very much displeased, particularly this one man. This is in Esther chapter 3. It starts with verse 1. It says, sometime later, King Xerxes promoted Haman. Here's this man, Haman, the son of Hammedatha, and the Agagite over all the other nobles, making him the most powerful official in the empire. So there's the king, King Xerxes, and he had a right-hand man. His name was Haman. I am not sure where a lot of these Bible names come from, but Haman, that was his name. Haman, that's all I'm going to say about that. Haman was very angry. He didn't like the Jews. Queen Esther, she's a Jew, and he didn't like the Jews. Particularly, he didn't like this one man named Mordecai. And he was the cousin of Esther. So Queen Esther had a cousin named Mordecai. And this man, Haman, the right-hand man to the king, despised him. And here's what happened. This is verse 8. So then Haman approached the king Xerxes, and he said, there is a certain race. Now this race we're talking about are the Jews. Okay, the Jews. There is a certain race of people scattered throughout all the provinces of your empire who keep to themselves separate from everyone else, and their laws are different from those of any other people. And they refuse to obey the laws of the king, so it is not the king's interest to let them live. I mean, do you hear the words he's saying? Here's how bad he hates them. It is not in the king's interest to let these people live. Verse 9, so if it pleases the king, issue a decree that they may be destroyed, and I will give 10,000 large sacks of silver to the government administrators to be deposited in the royal treasury. In verse 10, the king agreed, confirming his decision by removing his signet ring from his finger and giving it to Haman, the son of Hammedatha, the Agagite, the enemy of the Jews. The king said, the money and the people are both yours. Do with it as you see fit. Now what they're plotting here, what they're planning on doing is that having a Holocaust. Just as what Hitler done in Germany, here's what they're planning on doing. All led by this one man, and he hated this race so bad. All because of one man, Mordecai. He hated him. He was so upset. That, here's what we're going to do. And he got the king to agree with it. He said, listen, I'm even going to give you, if you do this, I'm even going to give you 10,000 sacks full of silver. 10,000 sacks. I have no idea how much money that is. I just know it's a whole lot. So if you agree with me, I'm going to give you this money to the treasury. And the king said, okay, you're the right-hand man. You're the one for the job. Go ahead and do it. You take care of this people. The problem is that this news spread. The news spread. And as this news is spread out to people, and as it spread, here's what they end up finding out is that, oh, there's something bad going to happen here. Because now they're going to take out the Jews, an entire race. Now here's where it gets interesting. So Mordecai, this man who is the cousin of Queen Esther, he sends for the queen. And he tells her what all is going on. This is over in chapter 4. Esther chapter 4. It starts with verse 9. And so Hatshepsut returned to Esther with Mordecai's message. And so here's what he's saying. He's telling Queen Esther, they're going to kill us. They're going to wipe us out. Here's what's going on. Here's what's going to happen. They're going to wipe us out. Verse 10, then Esther told Hatshepsut to go back and relay this message to Mordecai. All the king's officials and even the people in the provinces know that anyone who appears before the king in his inner court without being invited is doomed to die unless the king holds out his gold scepter. And the king has not called for me to come to him for 30 days. Now we said this at the very beginning. Nobody approached the king, even the queen. Nobody could go to the queen unless the king summoned for you. And if you did enter his presence, he would have reached out his gold scepter towards you to say, let everybody know it's okay for them to come in. It's okay. And so what the Queen Esther's doing, she's telling her cousin Mordecai, listen, I could die. I could die by going to see the king. You know this to be true. It is the rule. It's the law. This is what's going to happen. I will die if I do this. I will die. So here's what happens. So verse 12, so then he came back and he gave Esther the message to Mordecai. And here's Mordecai's response back to Esther. So Mordecai sent this reply to Esther. Don't think for a moment that because you're in the palace, you'll escape when all the other Jews are killed. You'll not escape. Verse 14, if you keep quiet at a time like this, deliverance and relief for the Jews will arise from some other place, but you and your relatives will die. Who knows if perhaps you were made queen just for a time as this. Wow. So he's given Queen Esther here an earful. So listen, don't think that you can just sweep us under the rug. Don't think you can ignore what's going on. Because you are a Jew too. You're going to die anyway. Because they're going to eradicate, they're going to kill off all of the Jews. And so she hears this message and it hears to her. So now she's got a problem. She can't go to the king because she might die, but yet her people and even her herself are finding themselves facing death. Facing death. And so the king sends back this message and says, listen, perhaps you were set queen just for a time like this, for God to use you in a great way. And here's what I want you to think about right now in your life. All the things you've got going on. You're juggling ball, and you're juggling the house chores, you're juggling work, and you're juggling your marriage, and all these other things. You're trying to take care of your parents and pay bills. Somebody's got to balance a checkbook, and somebody's got to go to the grocery store, and somebody's got to iron, and we hate iron, and somebody's got to do this stuff in the laundry room. Oh man, we can't talk about the laundry room. And then when somebody's coming over, we make sure all the doors are shut and they don't go upstairs just because our house is a wreck. And we're freaking out. What are we going to do? What are we going to do? What are we going to do? Are we capable of doing something great, or all we're going to see is the trouble we face right here in front of us? Are we capable of achieving more? Here is his queen. She was highly favored. She spent all this time with beauty treatments, and now she wears the crown on her head. She is the queen. And she has the king's heart. But even if she's not summoned, she could face death. But yet on the other balance, she's got her family. Her family that stands in this balance. What's going to happen with her family? What can happen to her and her family if she doesn't do anything? And that's what Mordecai tells us. Listen, if you don't do something, we are going to die. It's very important that you get up and do something about this. So verse 15, she sends this message back. It says, then Esther sent this message back to Mordecai. Go and gather together all the Jews of Susa and fast for me. Fast for me. Do not eat or drink for 3 days, night or day. My maids and I will do the same, and then, though it is against the law, I love this, I will go in and see the king. If I must die, I must die. She said, somebody's going to do something, it might as well be me. And I love this. So Mordecai, verse 17, so Mordecai went away and he did everything that Esther had ordered him to do. And anybody that comes to me and they're talking about a decision that they're going to make or something that's going on in their family, there's one thing that I tell everybody, and you see it all repeatedly throughout the Bible. And that begins with fasting and prayer. And what fasting is, and I'm not going to go into a whole lot of detail, but fasting is withholding something from your body so that you can spend that time focusing on God. So you're going to withhold, whether it be food or Facebook or Pal Sweet Teas, you're going to withhold something from your body. And instead of doing that act, what you're going to do is you're going to seek God through Scripture, and you're going to spend that time in prayer. And so she's saying, here's what I want you to do. You go fast and pray. Get all the people together, fast and pray over this situation, and I'm going to go do the same thing. Me and my mates, we're going to fast and we're going to pray for 3 days. So for 3 days, we're going to go without food, and we're going to seek God through this. And as we seek God, we want you to seek God. And what she's preparing to do is put her life on the line so she can go stand before the king. Stand before the king. And that's what she does. She's getting everything ready to line up so she can go do this. And I wonder with us, what's going to happen to us if we don't stand in that gap for our people, all of us? Last week we said that we all know people right now who need Jesus, and we challenge you and urge you to go out from here and invite people to church, that we would go out and we would spread the news that, man, there's a church that loves you. There's a church that you can be yourself in. There's a God that loves you, and it doesn't matter what your past is. They can wash away all that past because His blood is so powerful. It cleanses the most vile of offender. It can wash us white as snow. And now that we went out and accepted that challenge, many of us are like, I don't really know that I want to disturb these waters, because what happens if I approach them and then they excommunicate me? What happens if I invite them to church and they bring out an axe? And what are we going to do? Like Freddy Krueger could live at that house, and I just don't know what they got going on up in there, and I'm a little nervous and scared. And right now, this is exactly where Queen Esther finds herself. She's nervous and she's scared. But she's willing to step in the gap between her king and her people. What about us? God has called us to stand in the gap, that we would, on behalf of everybody else, that we would stand in the gap, pray on behalf of other people, and do all we can do to get them to church, all we can do to get them to Jesus. All we can do. That we would step out of our comfort zone and get as close as we possibly can to God, and we would get our people as close to God as they possibly can. It's time for that. You're talking about charging hell. She right now is Queen Esther. She is getting ready to charge hell. I bet Satan was like, oh, I got these people. They're going to wipe them out. This Jesus that's supposed to come later, he's supposed to be a descendant of the Jews. It ain't going to happen. I'm going to take care of business all right now. And all this hinges on one woman. And you look at her past, she doesn't look qualified. What's she done? She hasn't went no weightlifting. She can't take on the king. She ain't in shape. She's been getting beauty treatments. She might smell good, but what good is that going to do in a war? Smell pretty? Come here, let me take you out, smell my pits. It ain't going to happen like that. Like, what training does she have to take on the king and all these people? It doesn't matter. There's one thing that she's got going on for her. That is the power of God. Now, what could happen if we would realize that we've got this power within us? We preached a whole series about this a while back, that the same power that raised Jesus from the dead lives in us. Can we do something great? Can we stand in the gap of our people? If it's not us, who's going to do it? See, nobody cares about your people like you do. Nobody else cares. They might care a little bit. It's more like a gentle, protocol care. Hey, so-and-so, broke their own. Oh, that's bad. Let me tell you what I had for supper last night. It's like, somewhat cares. But you tell a family member, like, hey, little Johnny broke his arm last night. Oh my, what happened? I mean, what did you do? You're his parent. You let him jump off the porch? And they really care. Nobody cares about your people like you care about your people. They're your people. And right now, the queen, she cares about her people. Not right now. The people in your life, the people in your family, in your realm, your circle. You care about them. You care about their family. You care about it when their dog dies. You care about them when their kids are sick. When someone dies in their family, you go to their funeral. Because you care about them. And right now, she cares about her people, and she's willing to put her life on the line just to stand in the gap between the king and this evil fate that's coming. Man, if you're talking about something that's powerful, what would happen if we did this? If we would risk it all for our people. Here's how we can charge hell with a water pistol. Because even though it looks like it's so hopeless that you've invited them to church 10,000 times, are you going to do it one more time? Why? Because it's worth the risk. It's worth the risk. You right now, is it worth your risk to do this? You're talking about somebody's fate. Somebody's fate. We always say that we got another day. We have another day. No, we don't have another day. A recent family member, he just died of a heart attack. He was in his 40s. Man, people have a heart attack so young. Another good friend of mine, we just buried him just the other day. I'm telling you, we are not guaranteed that. And we think that people's going to last forever. And then when something happens, it shocks us. It rocks us to our core. The time is now for us, the church, to stand in the gap, that we would take a risk and invite people to church, that we would take a risk and share Jesus. Are we able to do something great? Oh, Queen Esther does. So she goes to the king. Now I want you to hear this. Now remember, she could face death. This is chapter 5. And I know we're coming a whole lot of chapters. You can read this whole story. It's amazing. I just want to try to get it all in here in like 45 minutes. This is an amazing story. Esther 5. And it says, on the third day of the fast, so remember they fasted for 3 days. On the third day, I love this, Esther put on her royal robes and she entered the inner courts of the palace, just across from the king's hall. The king was sitting on his royal throne, facing the entrance. I love this. Verse 2, when he saw Queen Esther standing there in the inner court, he welcomed her and he held out his gold scepter to her. She didn't face death. He welcomed her in. So Esther approached and touched the end of his scepter. Now listen to verse 3. So the king asked her, what do you want, Queen Esther? What is your request? And I will give it to you, even if it's half the kingdom. She's willing to take the risk. So she was bold enough. She fasted, she prayed, she saw God, and she was bold enough to take the risk and stand in the gap and go approach this king. And she does. And instead of her facing death, the king holds out his gold scepter and she approaches and she touches it. And this means that she is in good grace with the king. She is not going to die. And now the king, not only of all that, the king says, honey, what do you want? What can I do for you? What can I do for you? I will do it. You say the word and I'll do it. Even if it's up to half the kingdom, I will give it to you. Half the kingdom. Look at what kind of standing she is. What kind of standing are you in with your family? Good standing? People come to you and they turn to you. They're looking to you because they see you as the leader. They're looking to you because they need guidance. You've been given a platform. That's why I showed you that Joanna Gaines video from HGTV. And you may have never known who that was or Fixer Upper. And that's fine. But she's been given a platform on national TV to show what kind of family people can have. That you can't have a normal family without all the screaming and fighting and throwing up divorce all the time. That you can be madly in love with your spouse. Yes, he's going to mess up and yes, he's going to drive you crazy. But that is a possibility. You can have that. We can have the most amazing life. But we've got to look past all the dirty clothes and the iron and the clean. We've got to look past ourselves. And we've got to start seeing ourselves the way God sees us, a warrior. You women here today, you are a warrior that are willing to fight for your family. Me, and not only are you just home, your job is not just to bring home the bacon, okay? That is not just your job. Your job is to lead your family with everything that you've got so that your women can trust you enough that you are going to come home and give them your very best. Your kids are looking up to you. They want you to be their hero. Be their hero. Stand in the gap for your family and be what they desire you to be. And right now, this queen, she's standing in this gap between her people and the king. And now the king has said, what do you want? What can I give to you? You just tell it. You name it. It's yours. I mean, wouldn't we like to be able to do that? That we could go up, to the president and just walk in. He'd go, hey, honey, what do you want? What can I do for you? I'll give you whatever you want. Even if it's up to half the United States, I'll give it all to you. Your treasury, Fort Knox, it's yours. What do you want? What do you want? And there's a series of circumstances. I'm not going to get all those details because it covers so much Scripture, but I am going to go to Esther chapter 8 because here's the final. He asked her 3 times, what do you want? And in Esther chapter 8 and verse 16, he grants her what she wants. What do you want? She asks, and she stands in the gladness. She stands with gladness in front of her people. She says, listen, I'm a Jew and you're about to kill these people off. You're going to kill me. The queen who you love, you're going to kill. You're going to kill me. King is sorry, and through all the series of circumstances, Haman, his right-hand man, he puts him to death. And now the news is spread that Queen Esther has saved the people. Now look what happens. This is Esther chapter 8, verse 16. It says, the Jews were filled with joy and gladness and were honored everywhere, in every province and city. Wherever the king's decree arrived, the Jews rejoiced and had a great celebration and declared a public festival and holiday, another holiday for Queen Esther. And many of the people of the land became Jews themselves, for they feared what the Jews might do to them. All the people was saved because one woman, amazing woman, was willing to stand in the gap between the fate of what this king was put on his people and her people. She was willing to stand in the gap, even though it could cost her life. The risk was worth it. Men, we have a very important role as encouragers, that we would support the women in our lives. And her cousin Mordecai, he played that supporting role. And this is what we need to do sometimes. Maybe you're here today and you have a hope and a dream. A hope and a dream. Men, encourage the dream. Encourage that. Encourage them to go and stand in that gap. But what about us and our families right now? The people we know that if we were to die right now, we know that they're not going to be singing with the angels. And it has been given our job, our duty to stand in the gap, that we would stand bold on God's word and share what God has given us. There is a hope and a future. See, I think that we were meant for so much more other than just ironing clothes and cooking and cleaning. We were meant for more than just going to work and coming home, propping our feet up. We were meant for more than this. I think we were meant to change the world. I want to change the world. Do you? Man, we look at ourselves and, oh, but I can't do it. You've got to get past all of this. Okay, well, I'm good. I'm past the laundry and the dirty clothes. I don't do it no way. It just stays out there. I don't do it no way. But I got a messy past. Well, then you're going to have to get past your past. That you may have flubbed up so many times growing up, and you may have got a whole lot of dirty laundry back here. This is what's so powerful about the blood of Jesus, because it wipes all that slate clean, and we can step into the light and walk with our God, all because of the blood of Jesus. Now you tell me what we can do with God on our side. I tell you, there's nothing that we can't do. But we've got to get past all this and take a step of faith and say, you know what? It's worth the risk. I'm going to do it. Some of you are here today and you've got these hopes and dreams, something that God has birthed in you. And you feel like that, man, you're going to have to do something, and you're just going to have to do it. Why not do it? Why not pray and fast and seek God and do it? Some of you are like, man, I know what I need to do, but I'm so uncomfortable. I want to get out of my comfort zone. Yeah, you're going to get out of your comfort zone. Is it worth the risk? And some of us were holding here in the balance, like, maybe. It may be worth the risk, and it may be not. Is it worth the risk? Is it worth you being careful for you to step out on faith and say, God, I have no idea how you're going to do this. We just know you're going to do it. I mentioned earlier that we homeschool. That's how we did it. We were scared to death. I'm still scared. Kids are doing these problematic equations in the 6th grade. I'm going to have to reteach myself math. What's funny is whenever we do spelling at our house, and I'm trying to say these words, and my 11-year-old daughter says, Daddy, that's not how you say it. Fine, then you read the words. So they're teaching me these words, and we're still scared. But here's what we did. My wife, she felt so compelled. I felt like God's leading this way that we're going to homeschool. Here's what she did. She went, God, I'm going to take a step of faith. What I did in the corner, I was like, babe, you got this. I'm going to help you whatever you need. Whatever you need. It was a dream. She took a step of faith. Got out of her comfort zone. I'm telling you, some of you got these things inside of you. Maybe it's somebody that you want to talk to. Maybe it's somebody you want to invite to church. Maybe God's leading on you to start a Bible study at your home. Maybe you got a ministry He's wanting you to start. Well, it takes us getting out of our comfort zone and taking a step of faith and say, you know what? I'm going to stand in the gap between these people and their faith and you, God. I'm going to stand in the gap, but I'm going to do whatever I can do to get those people to you. Here's how we charge hell with a water pistol. That looks like the whole world is against us, but regardless, we've got God on our side, and we're going to take a step of faith. We're going to take a step of faith. Will you take a step of faith? Oh, but it's too risky. I might get hurt, and we might get cuts and bruises and Band-Aids. And yes, you might. But you can do it. It's worth the risk. I've fallen into this, I don't know if you call it a hobby, because I really like to eat. I really like to eat. It brings me so much joy and pleasure to my life when you make something good and you just take a bite of it, and that yummy goodness, the flavors hit your mouth, and it's just like, oh, I can make the meanest chocolate chip cookie you've ever seen. It is like amazing. And you can't eat just one. 10 later, you wonder where they all went. I love it. And just this week, I was cutting my vegetables and I was getting ready to make something. And I knew that there was a slight possibility that I could cut myself, but it was worth the risk. And I was cutting the vegetables. I was cutting them, and I was fixing me a sweet potato because I like fixing sweet potato fries. And I was cutting it, and my cutting board was a little wet, and it slipped in this super sharp razor knife that I just got done sharpening. I mean, it sliced my finger, and then blood just started gushing out. I mean, I soaked 3 paper towels, and it's like, ah! And it hurt, and the girls were freaking out. I was like, we're going to go to the emergency room. Daddy's bleeding everywhere. And it was like drops of blood, and my wife was at home, thank goodness. And I was holding it, and it just wouldn't stop bleeding. And it got me thinking about this. My goal was to cut vegetables so I could fix me something amazing to eat. Was it worth the risk? Yes, I got a little cut, but you know what ended up? It finally stopped bleeding. I put a Band-Aid on it, Neosporin, bam, we're good to go. I'm still cutting vegetables up. But I think many of us were too scared and thinking that it's not worth the risk. We could use an excuse just as lame as that. Well, I would help you cook dinner, but I might cut my finger off. Well, let me ask you something. Is it worth the risk you eating, or do you want to go hungry? I remember going up to my mom, and we always say, Mom, we're hungry. She said, okay, go fix you something. Well, I'm really not that hungry. Oh, okay, then you really wasn't that hungry, was you? Is it worth the risk? Is it worth you cutting your finger to go help, fix dinner? Is it worth the risk if you stand in the gap for your family? Our people need us to stand in the gap. Are you willing to take that risk? I don't know what kind of hope and dream that you've got. Maybe you're like, man, I stay at home. I'm investing in my kids. Then great, you have the largest platform to invest in your kids. You're going to be the number one voice in your household for those kids to look up to. Give them something to look up to. Instead of whining and complaining about all the laundry, do it with joy and gladness and show these kids what a stay-at-home mom can do to change the world. Invest in those kids because they may be the next Queen Esther. It almost looks like, if you look at this story, it almost looks like a TV show called The Bachelor, and they're trying to find the one with that one rose left, and Queen Esther got it. Maybe your daughter could be that. Maybe you have more hopes and dreams for her than that. Maybe she could be just an amazing lawyer that could really impact and change people's lives. Maybe she's going to be a school teacher where every year she gets to invest in herself, in the 25 to 30 kids. And then 20 years later, when these kids come back in the school system, they're talking about the teacher they had in the 6th grade that empowered them and taught them so much that they could do so much more. That is changing the world. Then you teach those kids with everything that you've got. But we have got to take a stand and say, you know what? It's worth the risk. I don't know what you've got going on in your life right now. I don't know what risk that you need to take. But we've got a whole region, a whole group of people that we have an influence in. And God is telling us, just like Mordecai, saying, listen, what are you going to do? Are you going to keep going through your mediocre life, ironing clothes and complaining while you wash the dishes? Or are you going to stand in the gap and do something about it? Is it worth the risk? Some of you, it's time that we take a bold stand and invite people to church. Others of you, He's really wanting you to take that new job. That there's a job He's wanting you to take for you. You're like, I don't know if it's worth the risk or not. And I'm not telling you it is. I'm saying pray and seek God. God tells you it's worth the risk, then you go for it. But we've got a whole generation of people that need Jesus. I'm willing to stand in the gap. Will you stand with me? I'm going to ask you to bow your head and close your eyes just for a moment as we pray. Father God, right now, I pray that you'd speak with so much clarity. God, that we would hear a word from you. Right now, God, would you search us out? Reveal yourself unto us. Speak to us, God, as people's lives are on the line. As you continue to pray. There's many of you here today and say, God is speaking to my heart. There's something He wants me to do right now. I know it. I know what it is. He wants me to stand in that gap. I want to pray for you. You find yourself challenged, and just like Queen Esther here, you find yourself challenged and you're in a rough spot. You're like, I don't know what's going to happen here. But I know that He's calling me to do something. I want to pray for you. If that's you today, that you got something that God is leading you and He's beckoning you to do, I want to pray for you. And yes, it may be a little uncomfortable. And yes, you may have to take a stand. But here today we're asking, is it worth the risk? And God's asking you and facing this question. If that's you today, say, God, you want me to do something and it's worth the risk and I'm willing to take a stand. God, you're leading me to do something. I want to pray for you. Would you just lift your hand and say, that is me. Hands are going up. He's wanting me to stand in the gap. He's wanting me to take that risk. Father God, I pray right now that you'd move and work in a great and powerful way. As we take this stand, as we stand in the gap, it is worth the risk. God, may you move and work in our lives in such a powerful way as we take these steps of faith. It's worth the risk. There's those of you here today, you got some things going on in your life. Your life, it seems like it's so crazy. It's so crazy. And there's times that when you look at yourself, all you see is a bunch of dirty laundry and dishes. All you see is the day-to-day thing that you've got going on. But God's got more in store for you than this. And many times you're guilty of looking at yourself and all you see is these chores. All you see is the negativity. All you see is what you do every single day. But God sees you as so much more. He sees you as so much more. He loves you. And He sees you as an amazing woman. He sees you as an amazing man. And we need to stand in that gap and be the man, be the woman that God has called us to be. I don't know who you are. Maybe you're here today and you're struggling with your identity in Christ. You may be struggling about how you view yourself or how others may view you. But today I want you to see yourself the way that we have pointed out here. It portrayed the Bible the way that it portrays Queen Esther. She was an amazing woman and she stood in the gap. Will you stand in the gap on behalf of your family? Will you stand in that gap like Queen Esther? Your kids are looking to you. Your family is looking to you. Your co-workers are looking to you. And they're looking for you to stand in that gap. The last thing that we want is for our people to die and go to hell, and we weren't willing to stand in the gap for them. And I'm asking you today, right now, are you willing to stand in that gap for them on their behalf? Will you invite them to church? Will you raise them up as warrior children? Will you show them what they can be as encouraging them? Those of you who say, yes, that's me today, I'm willing to stand in that gap. I'm going to stand in that gap. I'm going to invite them to church. I'm going to raise my kids right. I'm going to do all I can for my family. Whether I stay at home, whether I homeschool, or whether I go to work, I'm going to show them what type of Christian I can be. I'm going to show them how great my God is. I am going to stand in that gap. If that's you today, I'm going to pray for you. Would you just raise your hand up high to the sky and say, God, that's me. I want to be a warrior for you. I want to stand in that gap, and I want to make a difference for my God. He loved me so much. He saved me from my sins, and He's washed me white as snow. And though I may not be perfect, I serve a great and mighty God who called the dead to life, and He has called me to be a warrior. I will not complain, and I will not lay down. I will fight for my family, and I will fight for my friends. I will stand in that gap. God, I pray that You would empower us and lead us in a great and mighty way, that we would see Your glorious hand in and all around us. May Your ultimate and great will be done in our lives as we stand in the gap for our family, for our friends, God, and for our future. May we speak on behalf of others, God, as we lead and invite them to church, as we lead and invite them, God, to join a relationship with You. As you continue to pray, there's some of you right now, you really don't know what we're talking about. As you really don't have that relationship with God, and right now He's beckoning you and He's calling you out, knocking on your heart, say, I want you, I want in. Queen Esther here, she belonged to God. Do you belong to God? This is where your battle first starts. You've got to overcome this one battle. Do you belong to God? There's those of you here today and say, you know what, that is exactly me. I do not belong to God. Or maybe you've been wondering, you've been going back and forth. Right now, is God calling you out? Is He knocking on your heart and saying, hey, you need to be saved. You need to be saved. You need to give your life over to me. If that's you today, I would love to pray with you. Would you just call it on God right now? Call on God right now and say, Father God, save me. Save me from myself. Save me from my sins. I need You. God, would You take my life and make me brand new? I accept Jesus Christ as my Savior, and I make You now the Lord of my life. Help me to live the rest of the days for You and You alone. As you continue to pray, if you prayed that prayer today, I would love to have the honor to pray for you. If you prayed that prayer today to receive Jesus, would you just slip your hand up in the air that I may pray for you? Father God, I pray that You do an amazing, great work in our lives, that we would never stop, that we'd be like Queen Esther, that we would take a stand even when it seems like all hope is gone, even it seems like that we're facing all the flames of hell. I pray, God, that we would stand in that gap, and I'm sure, God, that Satan thought that he had won. That here he is, he's going to get rid of all the Jews. And I think that many times in our lives, God, we have given up thinking that Satan has already won. But he has not won. The battle's still going on. And today, God, we are taking a stand. And we're going to stand in that gap. We are willing to take a stand and a move for our family. On behalf of You, God, we will stand in that gap. So, God, I pray today that we'd feel empowered. God, I pray today that all the women here today would know that they are an incredible, amazing, gift from you, God. And that they would lead their household with honor and integrity, and they would boldly raise their kids, and they would boldly support their husbands. God, I pray for all the men here today that they would stand up and be godly men, that they would live a life of honor and integrity, someone that their spouse can look up to and be proud of. May us as men, may we show our kids what it's like to love you, God, and to love our family. May we, God, give you our very best as we live our lives out for you. God, I pray today that we're going to walk out of here changed, different than when we came in. That even though that we might come in broken and beat down, we're going to walk out here with our heads high because we can make a difference. We're more than just house cleaners. We're more than just folding clothes. God, we are so much more than washing dishes and preparing food. We are warriors. And today, we choose to stand in the gap for our people. And I pray today, God, you do a great work in and through us as we stand in the gap for others. In the powerful name of Jesus, we pray. Amen. Would you give God some awesome praise today? I'll let